The Talk Show.
27 minutes before 8 o'clock. My name is Khanyi Makubane, right here on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Now, in a country where top businesses are threatened by instability within the executive level, there's a need to foster upcoming talent and to transfer skills that will enable them to thrive in their roles as the next generation of leaders. Now, tonight here about being a CEO for a day. Now, this is a wonderful new initiative that's been launched in South Africa by Odgers Berndtson, and let me welcome my guests on the line to chat to us. Let me start by Leon Ayo. You're from Odgers Berndtson, Sub-Saharan Africa, and you're also a member of the Henley Business School Board. Thank you so much for being with us on the Talk Shop.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
And let me also welcome one of the CEOs that are part of this program, Putima Hanyele. She's a CEO at Shanduka, and she's also a lady that I think many of us have heard speaking at some or other leadership events. All-round fabulous woman. Putima Hanyele, thank you so much for being with us on SAFM.
Thank you very much, Kanyisile.
Let me start with you, Leon. What is the CEO for a Day campaign about in a nutshell?
Well, as you presented there, we're really looking to identify the next generation of leaders in South Africa and to shadow South Africa's current leaders.
And I think that's a short and sweet way of looking at it. Now, this is a program that was launched in Europe 7 years ago and has just recently found its feet in South Africa, and you've brought together CEOs from various companies, including Shanduka, where Puchi is from. Just tell us about how you identified this first group of CEOs to participate in this first batch of CEOs in training coming in.
Yeah, as you said, we've been doing this for the last 7 years in North America and Europe. And our organisation, Odgers Berndtson, we actually find leaders in 30 different countries around the world. And we wanted to find the top South African leaders that led complex organisations of a certain scale to give the students an insight into what it really is like to lead an organisation of such complexity. And Puti and Shanduka was an organisation we were very keen to partner with.
And talking about that partnership, Puti, let me bring you in. When you were approached to have a shadow with you for a day as part of the CEO for a Day campaign, what were some of your initial thoughts?
Well, I really liked the program. I saw it as something that, could be very useful for a professional seeking to run an organization at some point, or also for a professional who is still trying to make up their mind about what to do next. And so I was very keen to participate in it. I'm always very welcoming of programs that support young professionals.
And what role do you think current leaders should play in nurturing or mentoring upcoming leaders?
Yeah, I think we have a significant role to play, given just, the fact that we have a country where that is something that is of significant challenge, largely as a result of our history. And so, I think it's an area that, need to be giving primary time to, because we need to be developing as much of the talent as we possibly can.
Now, let me bring you back in this conversation, Leon. Odgers Berndtson, the company that's behind this as the visionary, is an executive search, company operating across the world and in many countries in Africa. Let's talk about in terms of identifying the right candidates for those top positions. How much does leadership qualities count, in more than your experience, your ability to run a business, and all those other technical skills?
Well, I think it's the most important facet in finding a successful leader is looking at their levels of self-awareness and their communication skills. There are many people who have the technical capabilities to get the job done, but actually you need to be able to inspire shareholders and inspire a diverse stakeholder group. So I think that those personality traits are really key, and that was one of the main learnings. They realised that many people have MBAs, they might be CAs, but actually what is it that differentiates that means a CEO is successful? And it's around their authentic leadership style. And Raymond at Shadow Puti was absolutely blown away by how Puti could engage on many levels with different people within her organisation.
And what has been the feedback that has come out of the student pairings with companies like Shanduka and Parmalat and, Deutsche Bank, Pick n Pay, Vodacom that were part of this program?
I wish I could publish some of the thank you letters I received from the students. I think, firstly, they've had just a wonderful experience of looking at the complexity of an organisation, but also how real the leaders are running those companies. But even the students that didn't quite get selected for the final stage and win the day of shadowing the CEO, they learned so much about what it is to go through an executive search process, the type of process Treaty would have to go through to be selected to be a CEO. So those that didn't quite make it have had a valuable learning exercise.
Right. And Puti, when you had your mentees, I would call them for the day, just take us through that experience.
Okay, so we met at the office, and the first thing that I did was to go with him to go and meet with some of the entrepreneurs that we support through the Shanduka Foundation's Shanduka Black Umbrellas. And we went and we had a session with some of the entrepreneurs that are being trained through that program. It's a 3-year program that we run. And then afterwards we went and we met with the Managing Director of McDonald's South Africa, Greg Solomon, and he had a chance to have a discussion with him and to understand the business and all of the issues that affect that particular business. And then afterwards we came back to the head office and he met with Tony Murdoch-Eaton, who's running the Shanduka Resources business, which is our gold, all of our resources businesses. And he had a chance to talk to him at length as well about the nature of that business and some of the issues that we face there. So, all in all, it gave him, quite a general sense of the business that we run, and also the number of issues that we face, particularly in today's economy, where there are a number of challenges that businesses face, and particularly as we move forward to be able to look after the interests of shareholders, staff, and all parties concerned.
And just from your experience, having had your mentee for the day, and just in looking in general at the curriculum and the syllabus and the training that they receive at the different business schools when they're doing your MBAs, how would you put it, for instance, love to see business schools starting to tailor their MBAs even more towards the practicalities of running, like yourself, a complex corporation?
Yeah, I think there certainly needs to be, some programs do this, but not all MBA programs do this. But there needs to be some room for engagement with key executives in organizations, so that people who are studying towards their MBAs have a sense of engaging with people who are making day-to-day decisions around their businesses, and also understand whether this is actually the type of environment that they see themselves in, because sometimes people can study something but not really have a sense of it at all.
Right.
And whilst in a day, in a couple of hours, it doesn't give you the fullest sense, but at least you have sight of what the work entails.
And you, Leon, being a board member of the Henley Business School, you're very much involved, in the training, the curriculum, in, the type of, content that is in those MBA programs. Would you say that, they need to start progressing and evolving?
Definitely. I think there needs to be much more partnership with industry. So industry can tell the education sector what skills we actually need to drive and grow the economy here in South Africa. But what I would also say is, having partnered with Henley that I know well, but also University of Cape Town and the University of Stellenbosch, I've been fortunate to lecture all around the world at leading business schools. And the graduates coming out of South Africa's business schools are amongst the finest I've come across. There's a great cause for optimism about the future talent that's available in our country.
That's very good news to hear. That is very, very good news to hear. Let me invite calls on 0891 104 207, 0891 104 207. We're chatting about CEO for a Day, which is a leadership development program more than anything, which has just been launched in South Africa and launched 7 years ago. And my guest tonight chatting to us about this issue is Leon Ayo. He is from the company that's really, the spearheading this organization in this program, and he is from Odgers Berndtson, Sub-Saharan Africa. I've also got Puti Mahanyele, who's the CEO at Shanduka. Now, when I come back to you, Puti, and just ask you, if there's one piece of advice that, you would give to aspiring leaders who are in business schools, who are studying towards their MBAs and do have aspirations of becoming a CEO, what would that be?
I think it would really be them having the confidence in their capabilities, and also the confidence to really assertively go after the opportunities that face them. Because from time to time, what you'll find is that a talented young professional will come across an opportunity, or an opportunity will be them, but they will judge themselves much more critically than somebody else would. Yes. And not take into account that, someone else starting that particular role would also still, have certain areas of learning to do. And so, to make sure that they have the confidence on those opportunities when they are presented.
And for you, Leon, if I can pose the same question to you.
Sure. No, I really agree with what Pootie said, and I think actually learning from leaders such as Pootie and other CEOs, I know Pootie studied in England and in North America, and I think it's about being brave. So a lot of the organisations in South Africa now have a global client customer base. And I think South Africa's young leaders have to look to gain that global experience so they can understand their global customers. And I think that internationalisation gives them a global lens. We want them to come back and work in South Africa, but spending some time overseas in a different context can be hugely advantageous.
And that's quite true, which is why exchange programs sometimes also come into play, where young leaders, from different continents and different countries, get to cross-pollinate and get to see different types of leadership styles, visit companies which they may not be exposed to in their home countries, and get to learn from other international leaders. Would we see an international component of this program?
Yeah, I mean, what we're developing is an international alumni. So from our graduates of this program in North America and Europe, we're going to create this global network and run annual events. So that will increase opportunities to network globally. But I think it's again what I said about being brave. So when you do go overseas to study, working in a different cultural context, it can be quite a lonely experience. I ran a business in England, and I came here 2 years ago to South Africa. And I've learned a great deal just by working in a different environment. And now I'm very keen to stay here because it's such a wonderful place. But I'd certainly encourage young professionals to do that.
And for you, Pootie, you've also worked extensively overseas, rising up the ranks, company that you led overseas. How would you say the experience really prepared you for what you're doing today?
Well, I certainly learned that nothing comes easy because if there's something that you learn overseas, you really have to work hard, and so that really prepared me, and also it also gave me a really good understanding of the importance of being well prepared, and therefore really giving as much time as you possibly can to your work, and also having the proper ethic towards your work as well, because you can't approach your work in an average manner and expect exceptional results. So it really taught me a lot about that level of commitment to my work, and it's really it's worked well for me.
Talking about a level of commitment in the recruitment space, and in my other life outside of radio, I've been in positions where I've had to hire people and interview people, and I would always laugh at the delusions of grandeur that young entrants into the workspace have, in terms of salary demands, but I think they know in terms of skills as opposed to the reality of what the workplace is. How do we start instilling what Pootie is talking about? Hard work, commitment, honest pay for an honest work day, those kind of basic principles, and just building on up as opposed to walking into the industry with a big sense of entitlement.
And it's interesting, I talked to my senior team at Odgers around managing millennials and Generation X that have quite different work ethics to perhaps how Pootie and I were raised. But it is that hard work, and it takes 20 years to become an oversight and night success. So what I've been impressed with the young MBAs we've been dealing with, they're going through their finals right now, and we've put them through a rigorous selection process where they've had to turn up at weekends to be assessed and take themselves out of their comfort zone. They have to hand their dissertations in 8 days. And to me, that tells me they've got the work ethic and the commitment to step outside their comfort zone to achieve. And people don't become CEOs by accident. It's those years of preparation, studying, networking, putting in the extra hours. So there are no shortcuts. And I think something I experienced in England and indeed here in South Africa is that a younger generation sometimes expect the world to owe them a living, and of course we know that's not reality.
Stay with us. We are having a conversation this evening with Puti Mahanyale from Shanduka, as well as Leon Ayo from Odgers Berndtson, and we're talking about being a CEO for a day and also